What are some of the biggest changes that you see in the next couple of years that are affecting our agencies? And really, what can you do? What are you planning on doing to hedge that?
Well, from my point of view, it's technology, right? I mean, things seem to be changing, and I'm a technology person, right? In fact, when I was working as a sport agent, that's one of the things that I was in charge of, also creating a database for mailing purposes and things like that. So I've always been on top of technology and just figuring out how to do things more efficiently.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Last thing you want to hear a producer say is, okay, so I'll follow up in 6 months.
That's the last thing that you want to hear. And, and it does happen. And, I mean, it could get tiring and discouraging sometimes, and so I think that causes producers and even us sometimes to kind of feel like we should just move on to the next person. But if you do that with everybody, then before you know it, everything is going to seem that way, and you're not going to find opportunities where there could have been some.
Yeah.
So we've talked about hiring, we've talked about training, we've talked about motivating. What are you doing to make it rain in your agency? What are you doing for marketing?
For marketing, well, we're doing obviously web leads. We're doing web leads. We're doing some mailers, trying to get a little bit more on mailers, and really, really hitting back we've been in business for a while, so we have a lot of win backs and requotes. So that's really our core source of leads at the moment. I don't think that I need anything else for now, but who knows? I'm always looking at different options. What's
your approach with the internet leads?
Our approach with the internet leads, well, we have our telemarketers, which are great, and basically they work like transfers, right? So rather than purchase, because I used to do also telemarketing leads that I used to purchase from vendors and warm transfers and that kind of thing, and really having the telemarketers in-house helps kind of kill two birds with one stone, because by having my telemarketers on board with me, not only do they get to know my team, but they also help them follow up sometimes. I involve them a lot in the team, and that's one thing that I think took me a while to understand. Sometimes I struggle with that, but they're super valuable, not just because they create those warm transfers and they alleviate some of that burnout we're talking about, or discouragement with the producers. They don't have to be making all these outbound calls, but also, they help us follow up, and actually I learned that from one of the telemarketers that we had a few months ago. She was awesome. She was so good. She would keep my agents actually in check, because she would be like, hey, so I sent you this person. What happened? You never sent it to me. And then I would see her like, hey, so what's going on? Why aren't you answering to what happened? Oh, she didn't. And then I would talk to her, and she'd be like, it seemed like a really good lead. If you want, I can follow up with her. She would tell me, like, yeah, go ahead. And she would set, tasks for herself, and she would follow up, and then she'd get him on the line again. Hey, I got this person on the line again. Can you take him? And so now we're kind of adjusted a little bit and trying to train, the other telemarketers to also do that, where they not only help us get the initial lead, but if it's maybe a failed transfer, or if it's someone that maybe didn't work out, we were not able to quote, they actually create a task and they also follow up with them. But I think that, a few weeks ago, I got together with them and I'm like, look, I don't know that you realize how important you are. I said to my telemarketers, right, you are our first line of defense. We need you to get us transfers. And if we don't have people to talk to, we can't really sell to anyone. So, I started training with them a little bit more every Friday. Now we do it. I think tomorrow I'm actually going to bring him on the call that we have every morning, because I want to touch on base with them. I'm following up and all that. And even though that's not their main role, they actually, I think they feel more integrated to the team, and the team also sees them as more, part of the agency when they're part of the training. And even though they don't do it all the time, just knowing how it works, I think that is helping us. So that's one of our biggest processes that we have right now. We have, like everyone, we have lost people. So at times, I went through a period where I didn't have enough agents, and I actually had the telemarketers help us with requotes and just do other things that are maybe not that appealing to a licensed agent, or I don't want the licensed agents doing, but they're actually helping with that. So that's a big thing for us.
I think more than ever, especially, we could talk about inflation and everything else that's going on. I think that more than ever, the agents are so valuable, and it's like, why have them do all the stuff that they don't want to do? If we can take that off their plate, and create a better work environment, we're going to retain them more. They're going to love working for you. You're creating a great culture. It seems like there's no other option. I love that.
Yeah. It's common sense. I just told you a few minutes ago that I spend a lot of time training my new agents, right? I basically work with them personally, for close to a month. Why would I want them doing things that are not really as valuable? I already invested a lot of money with them, a lot of my time with them, helping them understand how to talk to customers, how to explain coverage and all that. That's what I want them doing all day long. I don't want them just dialing. And if I'll get that to somebody else, I will do it.
And that's what they like doing, right? They want to be on the phone. They want to win. Like, when you're not getting anyone on the phone, and that's just, by the time you do get someone on the phone, you're gassed. You don't sound great, it's like, and then multiple, and then doing that time and time again, by the third quote, you're just, it's not a pretty picture. But
yeah, no, it's not. And it all goes with the culture, right? That we're talking about, creating it and showing them that, look, I care about you. I care about your career. I care about your goals. And this is the investment that I'm actually making, right?
Yep.
In order for us to actually do better, all of us.
Yep. So, Miguel, are you hitting up any referrals? Are your agents asking anybody for referrals? How are you?
Oh, actually, yes. I forgot to mention that. That's another big source of business for us, referrals. We have a lot of, connections with local loan officers. And from that's one of the biggest things that I learned actually from my old days with my uncles. Every week, that was one of my tasks, actually. Every Friday, I would go to different real estate agencies from the area and actually just hand out, flyers and our business cards and all of that every Friday religiously. And so we got a lot of business through that, and they were really good leads. So to this day, actually, I had one of the realtors that was a referral partner from back then just retired last week, and I actually helped her with the claim a few weeks ago, actually. So that's another big one. That's another one that I am trying to get back to it. I tried it for a couple of months and it worked out really good. I don't know why we got out of it, but I actually, when they would call us for endorsements for mortgage updates, make sure that we finish them quickly, and then we would hit them back with like, hey, did you get the evidence of insurance that we sent to you? Yeah, we got it. Oh, great. So is the closing, everything okay? Yeah. And okay, it sounds good. And then the next day calling back again, like, hey, so how is the closing okay? No, what, they actually changed it. Can you change it for me a little bit? Yeah. So after that, asking them for a referral. I remember, I think it was a couple years ago that I did it from like September all the way to December. And man, we connected with like 3 different loan officers, and one of them would actually referred us to a few more people within the office. And we ended up, our December was like one of our best Decembers that we had because of this process. And man, I actually stopped doing it. I think we did it that year because we were trying to grow a little bit more. But that's another good one that I really want to get back to. I
love that. That's such a great idea. It's kind of like one of the processes we have here is never, if somebody says they're going to call you tomorrow, you be the one. No, I'll call you. You know what I mean? Like take that responsibility on yourself. And that's exactly what you're doing with the evidence of insurance is you're actually following up, like that. You're going the extra step, right? You're doing the thing that nobody else is doing. So that's super cool.
And honestly, I mean, right now, I think, there isn't that many refinancing going on, I guess. But, we kind of missed the boat a little bit on that afterwards, because as loan officers, that's really, they don't really care much about, getting cookies or getting a $25 gift card or anything like that. They care to close the deal. And if you can assure them that you're going to do everything that you can to do it, that's going to do it. I think, that's the reason that this guy started actually sending us business, because we helped him close one. And then I remember the next, when I told him, hey, if you have anybody else that's coming up and that you would like an insurance option for, let me know. He actually sent me one the next day, and we did the quote, closed them, everything. And then after that, he just started sending us a couple of weeks, from that office. It was like 4 or 5 different loan officers. And I kind of handed it off to one of my producers, and but I think that the value in that is actually making sure that everybody else is doing it, from the service person that's taking the call to the actual producer that's kind of growing that connection with the loan officer.
Any tips on onboarding clients?
Man, I'll tell you, that's my Achilles heel. I really struggle with that. I have a process that is documented. But I think for me, one of the things that I struggle with is keeping us accountable. And I think that what's made it difficult for me is just wanting my desire to have my salespeople just closing and deals and that kind of thing, and trying to get somebody else to help with some of the tasks that may not be that appealing to the sales guys. It's kind of hurt me a little bit. But what I'm doing right now is basically using agency Zoom. There is a task that get generated from that, and so as a producer, you basically get 2 tasks, and the tasks have that all the different steps that need to be taken for everyone, and it just follow those tasks. The part that I think that I struggle with is actually keeping track of that and making sure that those tasks are actually completed successfully. But that's the way that I handle it. That's something that I think does need to be solid, because it will ensure that your customers stay on board, and no policy that's written falls off.
100%. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we try to do everything. There's no way the wheels are going to stay on at all times on every part. But you look at it from the client journey, from being a lead into getting quoted, right? We talked about that, and then becoming a client, and that onboarding, and then the retention and all that stuff. It's kind of like you just need to keep tweaking different parts of that client journey. It's never all going to be perfect, but it's something to work on for all of us.
And just when you think that you have it, then something happens. Like in my case, I thought I had a pretty solid process, but then, I lost one of the persons that was actually helping me do the welcome calls. And then, I started assigning it to the producers, and then I got somebody else and kind of took it back. And so I think that having a process that's well documented and well structured helps you with that. But it's inevitable to, those deals are always, issues are always going to happen. I think having it documented helps a lot.
100%.
But for me, it hasn't been 100%, because I still struggle with that, to be honest.
Well, so let's go all the way to the end of the customer journey, or the client journey. What's your number one retention strategy?
I'd say I kind of preach that, to everyone. My number one retention strategy is actually doing a good job from the beginning, right? It's a lot easier to retain a customer who has an umbrella policy, who has good liability limits, and who you did a good job with, than someone that maybe has state minimum coverage, and maybe, that's really all they have, everything. It's really hard to retain those people, especially when they're shopping around. So I would consider, doing a good job from the beginning, making sure that we explain coverage and that we build value from the very beginning. One of the best things in terms of retention, because then when they call about rate increases, and we know that that's happening a lot right now, you always go back to that. Remember that, we had this, and remember that, this is the reason that you picked this coverage. And so it all follows a circle. right? Because when they come on board, if we did a good job, then when it's time to retain them, we basically do the same thing. We go back to that review. And a lot of times, people think that they're actually getting quoted the same thing at somewhere else. And when we check their deck pages or their quotes, their estimates, that's not always true. And that is basically the best way to kind of help them see that, there's more to it than just the price, right? It's also the fact that, we actually spent the time helping them understand, and other places are more concerned with just the price. So that's really what we do. We do have a retention script, but it's based on that. It's based on that on that review and the assumption that we did a good job from the beginning.
It's almost like, and I 100% believe that the best defensive strategy is a great offense, right? If you do the offense right, then that is the defense. All the things that we talked about, the whole client journey, if you do that whole thing really well, it's the best way to retain your clients. Cool, man. Well, so besides listening to this award-winning podcast, what do you do to keep yourself motivated?
Well, I spend a lot of time with my kids. I mean, obviously the business is important, and doing everything that we do in the agency is important. But, really my number one priority is my family, my kids. So that keeps me motivated, just spending time with them and making sure that I'm there for them. Like this week, I was actually at home for a good part of it because my 5-year-old actually is not doing well. So, taking him to the doctor. So spending time with them. And then also I'm a triathlete. I exercise and try to stay active with that. So I try to run a few triathlons a year. This year I
did not know that.
But that's one thing that I also learned from another book. I view myself as that. I've done several. I think it's been like almost 10 years since I've done triathlons every year. I actually won third place in my division a couple of times.
That's awesome.
So that keeps me motivated. And actually, I think that's how I got hooked up with Craig once, that he was doing that Ragnar race a few years ago. And he posted something on Facebook. Hey, has anybody done this? I'm like, dude, I haven't done it, but I've been wanting to do it. And then we just started talking a little bit after that.
That's awesome. It's funny. Like a lot of high performers in business are the same people that are doing those type of things. Like you have to keep your family happy at home if you're going to be happy at work. You got to and you also have to keep your body tuned if you're going to be pushing it at work and pushing it at home. And otherwise it's crazy how negative you can get without working out and stuff. For me personally, I have to every day. If I don't do, I have a morning workout. Well, I do it because of my back too. Otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to walk. A couple of years ago, I was struggling, but that's the thing. And I do that because of my kids too, because there was a period of time that I couldn't pick up my kids, and it was the worst. They were little and I couldn't pick it up, and I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and it's if I have to do this every day, work out a little bit, it also has its other benefits of anytime I work out, man, I'm feeling way better. I feel stronger. I feel like I have more energy picking up the kids. I mean, you being a father, I mean, if you're running races and going to work, feeling good about it, you run a high performance team and everything, you're going to be there for your kids. You're going to show up in a better mood. It's easy to get derailed from 100%. All the things.
100%. I mean, I definitely believe in balance, and I'll never forget. I just told you how long I've been doing this, and I remember back in the day when I was a young support agent. Back then, they actually used to send the market leaders report on paper, and I remember, I always looking out for it, here we are, and all that. And so I remember someone that was always at the top of the list. And then when I actually became an agent, I was like, hey, so what happened to this person? They're like, oh man, he actually passed away 7-8 years ago. Really? Yeah. Why? I mean, he had a heart attack. I was like, oh, dude, man. I mean, so that kind of stuck in my mind. This person was so successful. Yet, I mean, who knows? I don't know what his life might have been like because I didn't know him personally. But I always remember that the business is the business, but there has to be a balance, and so keeping that balance in sync, with obviously work, the family and your own self is super important.
Yep. Yeah. It's a big balancing act. You got to take care of yourself. So what are some of the biggest changes that you see in the next couple of years that are affecting our agencies? And really, what can you do? What are you planning on doing to hedge that?
Well, from my point of view, it's technology, right? I mean, things seem to be changing, and I'm a technology person, right? In fact, when I was working as a sport agent, that's one of the things that I was in charge of, also creating a database for mailing purposes and things like that. So I've always been on top of technology and just figuring out how to do things more efficiently. So I think that more and more that's going to become more important. Like right now, actually having telemarketers that would actually help us shorten the lifespan of a lead, making sure that we use a lead management system, a customer relations system, and also being open to possibly doing business differently, right? Like, me right now, voice over IP is actually a very common term, right? That most of us are actually familiar with. For me, I've actually been using that since like 2009 or something like that. Because the minute that our company decided to let us get our own phone company, actually went, voice over IP because of my technology background. And I've always been on top of that. So how that translated is when COVID hit, basically the same day, everyone was able to work from home the next day. And now actually more than half the team is actually working from home. And we're actually doing better than we were doing before COVID. So that, embracing of technology and just being prepared, I think that, you'll never go wrong with that. So that,
I love that.
And I would say, from my stand also with the carrier that I'm with, find the positive in everything. There's always going to be something that's going to seem like, oh man, the sky is falling. And I mean, it's happened several times with this carrier. I think that you always got to find a way to win. And if you just let yourself get involved in those thoughts that, oh man, how am I going to do it? This is going to be different and I'm not used to doing it that way. Well, I mean, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, right? But, we got to be different and just figure out a way to win. And so for me, it's just being focused on the opportunity and really find a place where you could win. That's my focus. And right now with our carrier is really making sure that they're selling. And we're getting compensated a little bit different now. So based on that compensation model, how am I going to restructure my marketing and just make sure that now I bring the business that my company wants?
Dude, we talk to the agents all the time that are with different carriers. It's all the same. It's just packaged differently, but there's always going to be those ups and downs. I love that you said that because, I mean, it's true. I mean, hey, we're lucky that Google and Amazon hasn't taken over. Luckily, we're regulated by the states and stuff. Otherwise, they would be able to swoop in. So even though that there's some challenges at times, that's part of it, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the way that I see it is like, hey, do I still like what I do? And that's 100% yes.
Yep.
And B, am I making more money than I would anywhere else? And that's also a hard yes. So then do I have the potential to keep doing that? And that's also a hard yes. So now, okay, so what adjustments am I going to make to make sure that it happens? And that's it. Right. Because for me, working in a technology field for 10 years, that's one of the things that I learned. Nothing stays the same way. Right. Everything changes. And actually, I think insurance with us, it's been a lot lower than it has been for other industries.
100%. And you get to go home with your kid when he's sick. You get to more family time anytime you want. Right.
Yeah. What else can you ask for, man?
Yeah, it's great. Well, Miguel, thanks for going the distance on here. I just want to acknowledge you for your 15 years of service and being the leader that you are. And it's super cool to hear all the positivity. I've known you for a while now, and you're always bringing that awesome energy and love it, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation. And I look forward to, keep learning from you all too.
Awesome, Miguel. Thank you.
Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well, while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over $10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.